Stop! You haven't subscribed to the channel yet? Subscribe now. We have new stories every day. Now, let's go. Unveiled Secrets. Emily and Michael had been married for 6 years, living in the charming suburbs of Seattle, Washington. Their picturesque house with a white picket fence was the envy of their friends. Michael, a software engineer at a booming tech company, and Emily, an interior designer, seemed to have it all, except for the one thing they wanted most, a child. For the past 2 years, they had been trying to conceive, but each month brought disappointment. Fertility tests showed no issues, but still, nothing happened. The strain began to wear on their relationship. One evening, Emily met up with her close friends at a trendy downtown bar. The neon lights flickered as laughter and music filled the air. It was a rare night out meant to lift her spirits. "Emily, you need to relax more," her friend Sarah said, handing her a cocktail. "Stress doesn't help when you're trying to get pregnant." "I know," Emily sighed. "It's just hard not to think about it." "Hey, isn't that Daniel?" Another friend, Lisa, pointed across the bar. Emily's eyes followed and widened in surprise. Daniel was an old college friend she hadn't seen in years. He was leaning against the bar, casually dressed but still exuding the same confidence she remembered. "Go say hi," Sarah nudged. "I don't know." Emily hesitated. "Come on, it might be good for you," Lisa encouraged. Taking a deep breath, Emily walked over. "Daniel." He turned, his face breaking into a grin. "Emily, wow, it's been ages." They hugged and soon found themselves engrossed in conversation. "What have you been up to?" he asked. "Oh, married life," she smiled weakly. "Everything okay?" he queried, noticing her hesitation. "Just trying to start a family, but it's been challenging." He nodded sympathetically. "If you ever need someone to talk to, I'm here." As the night wore on, Emily lost track of time. It wasn't until her phone buzzed that she realized it was past midnight. "Is everything okay?" Daniel asked. "Yeah, just my husband wondering where I am," she said, a hint of guilt in her voice. "Let me walk you to a cab," he offered. When Emily arrived home, Michael was sitting on the couch, concern etched on his face. "Hey, you're home late," he remarked. "Yeah, sorry. I ran into an old friend and lost track of time," she explained. "Glad you had fun," he said, forcing a smile. Over the next few weeks, Emily and Daniel kept in touch. What started as friendly support evolved into deeper conversations about life, dreams, and frustrations. One afternoon over coffee, Emily confided, "Michael and I still can't conceive. It's tearing us apart." Daniel hesitated before saying, "Have you considered other options?" "We've talked about adoption, but Michael wants a biological child," she sighed. He looked into her eyes. "What if I could help?" She blinked, taken aback. "What do you mean?" "I could be a donor," he suggested gently. "No strings attached." "Daniel, that's a big decision," she stammered. "Think about it. I just want to see you happy," he replied. That night, Emily lay awake, contemplating Daniel's offer. Desperation clouded her judgment. The next day, she called him. "Let's do it," she said quietly. They agreed to keep it discreet. Emily rationalized that she was doing this for her marriage, to give Michael the child they both desired. Months later, Emily's pregnancy test came back positive. Overjoyed, she ran to tell Michael. "Are you serious?" He lifted her up, spinning her around. "This is the best news ever." As the pregnancy progressed, Michael was attentive and doting. They decorated the nursery together, painting clouds on the ceiling and assembling the crib. One evening, while sorting through baby names, Michael asked, "How about Ethan if it's a boy?" "I'd love it," Emily smiled. Life seemed perfect, but guilt gnawed at Emily. She avoided Daniel, hoping to bury the secret. After Ethan was born, friends and family visited to meet the new addition. "He has your eyes," Emily, her mother, remarked. "But I haven't seen much of Michael and him yet," her father added thoughtfully. Michael laughed it off, but the comment planted a seed of doubt. A few months later, Michael was out with his friend Alex. "Hey, I saw Emily a while back at the Blue Lounge," Alex mentioned casually. "Oh, she didn't tell me," Michael said, surprised. "Yeah, she was with some guy. I thought it was you at first, but..." Michael's heart skipped a beat. What did he look like? Tall, brown hair seemed familiar, Alex recalled. That night, Michael confronted Emily. Were you at the Blue Lounge with someone? He asked calmly. Her eyes widened. I, I went out with some friends. Alex said he saw you with a man. He pressed. Alex must be mistaken, she replied quickly. Suspicion grew. Michael couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. One afternoon, while Emily was out, he found an old photo album. Flipping through, he stopped at a picture of Emily with Daniel. A week later, Michael suggested, I think we should get a paternity test for Ethan. Emily froze. Why would you want to do that? Just to put my mind at ease, he said, watching her reaction. Don't you trust me? She whispered. Is there a reason I shouldn't? He countered. Unable to argue further, she agreed. When the results came back, Michael's worst fears were confirmed. He was not Ethan's biological father. He waited for Emily to return home. As she walked through the door, he stood holding the envelope. What's that? She asked nervously. A paternity test, he stated flatly. Ethan isn't mine. Tears welled up in her eyes. Michael, I can explain. Explain? Explain how you cheated on me? He shouted. I didn't cheat. I wanted to give you a child. I thought if I could just get pregnant, we could be happy, she sobbed. With someone else's baby. Whose child is he? He demanded. She looked down. Daniel's. Daniel? Your old friend? How could you? His voice cracked with betrayal. I was desperate. We were struggling, and I didn't want to lose you, she cried. You thought deceiving me was the answer. He shook his head in disbelief. This is unforgivable. Please, Michael, I love you. We can get through this, she pleaded. He stepped back. I don't even know who you are anymore. He grabbed his keys and headed towards the door. Where are you going? She asked, panic rising. Away from here. I can't look at you, he replied, slamming the door behind him. Over the next few weeks, Emily tried to reach out, but Michael ignored her calls and messages. She wrote letters, begging for a chance to explain, but received no response. Finally, she went to his office, waiting outside until he appeared. Michael, please, she implored as he exited the building. He glanced at her coldly. What do you want? Just a chance to talk, she said softly. He sighed. Fine, 5 minutes. They sat on a bench nearby. I know I broke your trust, she began, but I did it out of love. That's not love, Emily. That's manipulation, he retorted. I was afraid we'd never have a child. I wanted to save our marriage, she explained. You destroyed our marriage, he corrected. Every time I look at Ethan, I'll be reminded of your betrayal. He's just a baby. He needs you, she whispered. I can't be a father to him, Michael said firmly. So that's it. You're walking away, she asked, tears streaming. You walked away the moment you decided to deceive me. He stood up. Goodbye, Emily. She watched as he disappeared into the crowd, her world crumbling around her. In the months that followed, Emily adjusted to life as a single mother. She reached out to Daniel, informing him of the situation. I thought you should know, she said over the phone. I'm sorry things turned out this way, he replied. Do you need anything? No, we'll manage, she sighed. One day, while at the park with Ethan, she spotted Michael sitting alone on a bench. Gathering her courage, she approached. Mind if we join you? She asked timidly. He looked up, surprise flickering across his face. It's a public park. She sat down, Ethan gurgling in her arms. He's getting big, Michael observed quietly. He misses you, she said. I miss him too, he admitted. There was a long silence. Michael, I know I can't undo what I've done, Emily began, but maybe in time, we can find a way forward. He sighed deeply. I don't know, Emily. The pain runs deep. I understand, she nodded, but know that I'm sorry, and I'll always love you. He stood up. Take care of yourself. As he walked away, Emily whispered, goodbye. Epilogue. Years passed. Emily devoted herself to raising Ethan, who grew into a bright and cheerful boy. She and Michael remained distant, their interactions limited to brief encounters. One afternoon, as Emily watched Ethan play soccer, she felt a presence beside her. He's talented, Michael remarked. She turned, surprised. Michael, it's been a while. I've been thinking, he began. Maybe it's time I got to know him. Her eyes welled up. He'd like that. Perhaps we can start anew, he offered cautiously. One step at a time, she agreed, hope flickering in her heart.